Hello, everybody, and good morning. This is Ed Rocha, founder and CEO of The Morning Goals. Good morning, Cody.
Good morning. How are you, Ed?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So, as always, we're streaming live on Clubhouse, on YouTube, and on Facebook. And today's topic is looking in the past, like letting go of the past and moving forward, moving into the present and moving forward. So looking back and pushing forward. And so this is something that we talk about a lot in coaching. So Cody, as we talk about looking at the past, generally therapy comes to mind, okay? And processing trauma, pain, different experiences, and things like that is very important. Okay, and so I'm going to take you through some like scenarios, and I want you guys to think about this. So think about something that's happened in the past that maybe only you know, or you know about, or haven't shared with anybody. Right? That's happened to a lot of us. Think about something in the past that has stopped you from moving forward or from doing something. Maybe somebody said something that really shocked you, and and just stuck with you. Like I remember two things that stuck with me. I remember sitting in the dining hall my freshman year, telling one of my friends, "Oh, I need to lose weight," and without blinking, he said, "No, you don't." He goes, "You don't want to." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You don't want to lose weight." I'm like, "Yes, I do." He's like, "Well, you would have done it already." I was like, damn, hashtag truth, right? And so that moment stuck with me. It was like, okay, why don't I want to lose weight? Why don't I want to exercise? Why don't I want to eat better and feel better and things like that? And so that really stuck with me. Now, he doesn't recall this, has no idea he said it, has forgotten about it. But for me, that was a very potent moment about trying to get healthy and working out and do all of these things. Another person I remember having a conversation with during a pre-client call told me that when she came to the United States, she remembers this one girl who made fun of her in the entire class about her English accent, her American accent. And till this day, she's embarrassed to speak English. That happened 20 years ago. Do you think that girl who made fun of her actually remembers that moment? Do you think it was potent for her, that she wanted to hurt her feelings and is losing sleep over it? The answer is the girl who made fun of the student, she probably doesn't remember it. So the only person giving value to that moment is the recent immigrant, or the immigrant who is still traumatized by that very vivid moment ingrained in her head when all of her classmates started laughing at her, right? And we can go on and on and on and on and on about all of these things in the past. And one of the things that I've realized in coaching is that some of these things do prevent us from moving forward. They prevent us from starting our businesses. They prevent us from being a little bit more bolder or more innovative in sort of the things that we want to do and accomplish in life. They kind of put the brakes on some of our hopes and dreams because we worry about what people are going to say to us or make fun of us, or how they're going to react and how we do things, right? And all of that generally has to do with our upbringing, the people we've encountered in our lives, but also I also say some of that is also self-imposed. It is imposed, like we, make things worse in our head by not processing, thinking about it, etc. So that's all looking back in the past. And I talk a lot about my past. I grew up in a rural community in extreme poverty. I had an alcoholic father, a mother who's bipolar and on meds, has been on meds her entire life, who's a severe diabetic. And I had plenty of excuses, right, to not be quote unquote successful, not finish college and start my own businesses, not become an entrepreneur because of the uncertainty, the financial uncertainty that that ensued. And so I tell everybody, look, those moments in your past have affected you, and there's true pain and suffering and maybe happy moments in all of those experiences. However, those things are not preventing you from moving forward. You're preventing yourself from moving forward. And what we do as coaches is to say, you know what? I don't care about your past. What I care about is now. Number one, ask yourself, are you okay right now? Right? So when you're angry at somebody, when you're feeling stressed or feeling uncertainty, ask yourself, are you okay right now? Are you breathing right now? Are you alive right now? And generally the answer is to all of those questions, yes, right? And then how can we move forward? So I'm going to use my example with my childhood. So I want to start a business. I am 40 years old, right? 38, we'll round up to 40. My dad was an alcoholic. Is my dad being an alcoholic 30 years ago preventing me from starting a business? The answer is no. I'm preventing myself from starting a business. Now, there may be trauma associated to those experiences, and there's truth to that, but my dad 30 years ago is not preventing me from starting my business or moving forward. I'm using that as a crutch or as an excuse. So what I say to everybody is do this little exercise. Write things and people that have hurt you in the past on a piece of paper. Acknowledge those feelings. Acknowledge that those things happened. Crumble up the paper and throw it in the trash. Now, you might have to do that every single day the rest of your life, or repeat it in different ways and forms and fashions. But try that simple exercise of putting things down on paper, crumbling it up and throwing it away, and say, you know what, every day I'm going to start over new. Every day I'm going to be reborn, and I'm going to start every day fresh. I don't have bad moments, bad days. I have bad moments, right? And so bad days are you harping on everything that went bad for you that day, or that one thing that made you angry and threw you off. Bad moments is things happen. I'm acknowledging that those things have happened and then moving forward. So the second part of this, I want to share a little bit of reflection. And so what we're going to be doing here at the Morning Goals is we're going to be gearing up for a 5-day self-reflection challenge in the middle of May. And part of that is taking different aspects of your life and processing those things. So today I'm going to read a reflection as part 2 of this this program, and we're going to kind of, let's dissect it a little bit. So here it goes. Each day I make strides toward bettering my future and letting go of the past. I am fully aware that the past is the past. Therefore, I keep my chin up. I move forward with my life without looking back. I have zero control over events that have already occurred in my life. However, I do have control over my future. Therefore, I assert my authority over my future by making sound decisions that allow me to live well today and in the days to come. I take responsibility for my actions. Generally, the things I do bring positive experiences into my life. However, from time to time, I do make an unsound decision. When this happens, I have the courage to face the outcomes of my actions. I choose to learn from my difficulties, ensuring that the same mistake is never made twice. This in itself allows me to create a better future. My possibilities are shining brightly. Rather than dreaming my days away, I make the most of each day by planting small seeds now to reap rewards in the future. Life is about making the most of what I have now while reaching for greater happiness. I allow this understanding to fill me each and every day. Okay, so that's a self-reflection, and we're going to post that reflection as part of this series, but then also for the 5-day challenge. We're going to come back to that and use that as a daily affirmation or a morning reflection about life, right? So acknowledging that things have occurred in your life, that things have happened, but we always have to keep moving forward. Time continues to tick and move forward, and we need to do the same. And we're going to do this by making a plan. And at the morning goals, I talk about mini steps or mini wins or small measurable steps. And we want you to think about the little things that you have that are in your control that you can do on a regular basis to acknowledge that you're present here right now, and then move forward, right? So we can talk about meditation. We can talk about feeling, right? So sit in your chair and sit there, plant your feet on the floor, rub your fingers together and feel the ridges in your hands for 2 minutes, and just acknowledge that you're present and that you're there and all is okay. And then go on with your day. Move on, okay? And if you don't, and if you can't, I do recommend therapy. I've had therapists in the past. I've worked with 2 fantastic therapists at different points of my life, and acknowledge some of the things that I needed to, that were weighing me down in the past. But when you go into coaching or working on yourself and improvement on yourself, that self-improvement is not about the past. That self-improvement is starting right now, and you've acknowledged that you want to improve yourself, and you're doing it, and you're moving forward. So with that, I have some people on Clubhouse, Delaney and Cody. Cody, we lost him from the feed here, which is okay. Any questions? And I'm going to repeat them. If I hear them on Clubhouse, I'll repeat them for the people who are on Facebook and YouTube. No. Sure. Yeah, a little fake, a little premature, a little, yep. Yep. Yeah, so my biggest recommendation as a coach and a consultant is I would recommend therapy. I recommend. So the question on Clubhouse was for those people who have experienced some very painful trauma in their lives, and how forgiving and forgetting may not be an option, or may be unsettling and hard to do, which is real, and we need to acknowledge that is real, and that's okay as well. How do you find that balance? So number one is try therapy if you can afford it, and if your insurance has it, try therapy. I also recommend finding support groups that have people who've experienced the same type of trauma that you might have experienced. A lot of people I've realized in life, as I was going through a healing process myself, we all think that we're the only one in that situation, whatever it may be, or whatever might have happened. And by us experiencing it by our dealing with it by ourselves, it feels extremely, extremely lonely. And so one of the things that I have tried to do is to acknowledge some of these things. There's a reason I say that my dad was an alcoholic, and it's not to embarrass him, because he's still alive and he's a fantastic guy, and he's no longer an alcoholic. But I want people to hear me say it, so that when they say, oh, my dad was an alcoholic too, or my mom was an alcoholic too, because there is a little comfort knowing that people are experiencing or have experienced the same thing, and makes it less lonely. Right. So finding groups of support is important. And then the third thing is, this is something I learned when I started meditation, is when I started meditation, I always thought that I needed to clear my mind. Well, if anybody who knows me, this mind is a million miles a minute. And in the meditation things that I was doing, they kept acknowledging it's okay that your mind is wandering. It's okay that your mind is wandering. It's okay. So what I would say is that for when we're talking about trauma in your past, it's okay to be hurt, and it's okay to be angry, and it's okay not to forgive somebody, right? You will forgive that person if you need to, when you need to, and when you're ready. And you may never be ready, but not letting that eat you inside is an important part. But you verbalizing, saying, I forgive you to somebody else is not necessarily something that everybody has to do. And I think that's part of the healing process, or that grieving process that we have to do before we find the inner strength in ourselves, or to move forward and pass some of these things. So 1, try therapy. 2, find a support group. There are many support groups of all things out there. And then 3, acknowledge that you might not be ready, able, willing, or need to say, I'm sorry, I accept your apology, and acknowledge that how you're feeling. I think a lot of us try to squash down how we're feeling because the world tells us we need to be happy. And the world tells us that we need to move forward. I just told everybody to move forward, but I want to also acknowledge you have every right to feel the way that you're feeling and accept how you're feeling. But then that's one moment, and then do what you can to move ahead, or move forward, or do the next part of your day, which might be getting a cup of coffee, and just that's an action of moving forward in a different direction. Hi, Delaney. Good. Good morning. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yep. Yes, absolutely. So Delaney from Clubhouse asked about mini goals and baby steps and what we should be focused on. So I've used this example before, and I'll use it again. So I don't think, maybe I haven't used this example, but a year and a half ago, I received a wonderful email from a wonderful woman who is a publishing coach. And I had followed her story, and I said, you know what, if I ever become a author, I want to work with her. And the first question she asked me was, do you write? I said, damn, she's good. And part of that was basically acknowledging that I was already on Z, where I should have been working on A, B, C, and D, right? I was already at the publishing part of things, and I hadn't acknowledged, planned out all of the smaller steps that I needed to get there. So my biggest recommendation is think about small things. Well, sorry, that's step 1. Think about the big picture, right? So my big picture is I want to become a published author. That is the big picture. But then take the time, either with somebody like a coach, or a friend, or a spouse, or a partner, or a colleague, and then plan out the 27 steps you need to do before you can become a published author, right? And that also, this, related to your past, a lot of us, when we're trying to go all in on our business or go all in on a project, there is stuff from the past that's holding us back, right? And so what are the small things that we can do? So we talked, I think, last week about, making them measurable, SMART goals, right? I always say, we know the morning goals method is start with the hardest one first. The second one is the most important, and then the third one is icing on the cake. SMART goals are specific, measurable, in a specified time and reachable, etc. And so, number one, think of that big picture of where you want to go. So I want to start a business, and then take the time to think of all the little steps you have to do to get there. When we talk about something a little bit more, what I call abstract, I want to improve myself. Back to our SMART goals, that may not be as specific as you need it to be. So think about the big picture is I want to improve myself by drinking less, exercising more, and feeling better about myself. That's slightly more specific. And how I'm going to get there are: one, I'm going to drink less caffeine. Two, instead of eating out every meal, I'm going to cook more. Three, I'm going to meditate 10 minutes a day, every single day for the next 100 days, right? So those are all smaller, long-term, but also consistent ways of improving yourself. And then, I would also say, when we talk about mini goals and small wins, we should focus on anything that we do. Okay, so I had a client recently, and he goes, "Oh, I haven't been that much that productive." And I said, "Well, what do you mean you haven't been that productive?" I said, "Well, we had 2 calls. You had 2 calls with me. Those are small wins, mini goals. That's 2 things. Number 3, you had the option of canceling with me because you felt you weren't productive, but then all of a sudden you continued, right? And when you're here, so instead of canceling, you forged ahead, which is what you should be doing. And we sometimes think that goals should be huge. Like, I worked for 8 hours today. That is not, maybe if you're working from home, taking a shower before you show up to your computer and report to work is probably a much more powerful win than you working 8 hours, especially in the time of COVID and things like that. So I hope that helps, Delaney and Cody. And with that, there's no other questions. I'm going to bring it home. Okay, I'm going to bring it home, team. So everybody, today we talked about our past, things you might want to consider to acknowledge the experiences of your past. When you're in the present, you're going to think about right now. Are you okay? Are you breathing? If the answer is yes, take that next step into your future, which could be a cup of coffee, or it could be something bigger, but keep moving forward, right? And then tips of the day: try therapy, find a support group, write them down, everything that's been people and things that you've experienced in your life, and throw them away every day. That's a powerful visualization of crumpling things up, crumpling people's name, and throwing them in the trash, or putting in the fireplace without catching on fire, the house, are important. So as always, thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to put some resources here for each and every one of you. Visit me at themorninggoals.com or on Instagram and the other socials at themorninggoals. And as always, start now, move forward, do good things. Have a great day.